Hey everybody, Spencer here with another video for you all. So, it's the holiday seasons. I thought I might do something a little bit more positive and a little more news focused as opposed to kind of diving deep into any one feature. So if anyone here listens either to any of my videos, is a fan of the SMTN podcast, it should come as no surprise that I am a huge fan of Koei Tecmo as well as Atlus, and when Persona 5 Scramble got released earlier this year, I could not have been more excited. It was such an amazing game. I'm really excited for everyone across the world to get their hands on it in whatever language they're able to play it in, but obviously normally there's not a lot of good news about this outside of people getting their hopes up, but still, as of this recording on December 3rd, 2020, there is no real main update. But we do have some positive news, and it's just so crazy I had to cover it. So Atlus, after the PlayStation Developer Awards today, has decided to announce that Persona 5 Royal and Persona 5 Scramble have now sold over 500,000 units individually. And what makes this so crazy is when you put it into comparison to the rest of these numbers. Now, Persona 5 Scramble has not released in the West, but it has released in most parts of Asia, and what's so notable about this is that it is already setting records without having an English version of it. So, what is so crazy about this, it has sold over 500,000 copies in less than a year. And just for some comparisons, we're going to start small. Let's start talking about the spin-offs or the non-mainline titles. Without getting into anything too crazy, I'm going to go from lowest to highest selling numbers. Lowest on the totem pole, Persona 3 and 5 Dancing. Barely broke over 100,000. Next up, Persona Q2. Next up, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. Then Dancing All Night, next Persona 4 Arena, and the original Persona Q on 3DS, which is very notable because before Scramble had released, Persona Q was one of the best-selling non-mainline games in the series, selling over 250,000 copies. Now, sold all better than those, which is insane, especially for something that people thought was going to have pretty soft sales or pretty kind of stagnant sales once it did release. Even crazier than that, not only is it sold better than every other spin-off or non-mainline game, it is also sold better than every remake except Golden and Royal. That means Scramble has sold better than Eternal Punishment, Innocent Sin, Persona, Persona 3 Portable, all on PSP, Persona 3 FES, has outsold all of those. And what's funny is, if it wasn't for the fact that the Steam version of Persona 4 Golden absolutely destroyed in sales this summer, it actually would have sold more copies than Persona 4 Golden, which is just crazy to think of a game that had been out less than a year compared to a game that's been out for over 8 years. But yeah, so Persona 5 Royal and Golden definitely beat those numbers. Now, what gets even more insane when you're thinking about all of this, it sold more than most of the remakes, it sold more than all of the other spin-offs. This is where it gets really crazy. Persona 5 Scramble has sold more than Persona 1 on PlayStation and PC, Persona 2, Innocent Sin, or Eternal Punishment on PlayStation 1, Persona 3, and Persona 4. Now, original vanilla Persona 5 is a little harder to gauge just because Atlus likes to combine all of its numbers. We haven't really had a specific sales number count in a while for here's how many copies just the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4 copies of Persona 5 have sold. But it's either pretty close to that 500,000 or a little bit over there, but because those are a little more nebulous, I don't really want to give it that count. But still, not counting the original Persona 5 as its own unique game, the only games that have sold better than Scramble now, and remind you, in less than a year, this thing came out in February, it is outsold everything except Persona 5 Royal and Persona 4 Golden. Insane. Insane that this game, which is a very different genre for a lot of these fans, and obviously you might be saying to yourself, well, hey, guess what? This was a year, had a lot of really great game sales, which is also true, but I just think it's almost more impressive that Koei Tecmo has just been having such an amazing year, not only with stuff like Age of Calamity, shipping over like 3 million units in its first month, but even with something like Persona 5 Scramble, which is definitely something on a much smaller scale than a Legend of Zelda game, but still equally crazy nonetheless. Now, we know how it's sold, at least in Asia. The real question is, where do we kind of go from here? What I want to use this kind of as a stepping stone conversation starter is, let's look at Persona 5 Scramble sales, and let's kind of use that as a way of making people at least hopefully feel a little bit better, because believe it or not, there is actually a pretty sizable audience of people who legitimately think that Persona 5 Scramble is not coming out in English. I promise you, Persona 5 Scramble is coming out in English. It's probably going to be called Persona 5 Strikers, but let's be real, at this point, it doesn't matter. We're always going to call it P5S. So, Scramble is obviously not announced yet officially. Its official publisher is going to be Atlus West. Doesn't matter what Koei Tecmo says. Doesn't matter what retailer shops in Asia say. The publisher has to announce it first before we can really get our hopes up. But let's just look at these sales numbers. It has not reached North America, has not reached Europe, has not reached any of the other massive non-Asian speaking countries. So Atlus really has nothing to lose by not releasing this game. I mean, it's almost more crazy of just like, hey, look at this being one of your best-selling games you've ever published for Persona. Why have you still not announced it? Again, it just goes back to the old timeless tale now. Every second that goes by where Atlus West does not announce Scramble, the worse they look. They will never have a good excuse as to why not announce it. You can talk about the state of the world, you can talk about how large of a publisher they are, you can say how busy they might have been with Yakuza 7, but at the end of the day, no one was stopping them from announcing this, and their lack of communication will forever kind of hover over this release. But at the very least, it's so nice to see that this has been a tremendous success in terms of them financially. Now, personally for me, if I could really sort of dive deeper into how everything sold and broke down, we're probably not going to get those numbers for any foreseeable time. I really wish, just because this was a multi-plat release in Asia, it released on Switch and released on PlayStation 4, I'm very interested to see how those sales were, because at start, it was definitely a lot more tailored toward PlayStation 4. But still, even after all these months, and even with people looking at Switch footage compared to PS5 footage, which is actually what you guys are watching right now for the video, I'm always so amazed. People are like, I'll take the compromise. I'll take the worst looking and worst running version. I just want it to be portable. I want to play it on the Switch. And to people like that, I'm like, hey, that's awesome. I play by PlayStation Vita all the time. I am very aware of what a compromised port looks like. So there's always that audience for it. Now, the real question is, I hope that Atlus sees that it being multi-platform is definitely a key factor into why it sold so well. Obviously, being the sequel to one of their best-selling games, Persona 5 is definitely going to help in terms of reception, but like, just look at the dancing game. Slapping Persona 5 doesn't make something a sales hit. In fact, what makes Scramble so interesting is this is actually the first property outside of Royal that has used the Persona 5 name tag from Atlus to actually be not only critically but financially viable and successful for them. As you remember, the anime does not have that high of a reputation. Q2 did not blow anyone's skirt up outside of the fans who were already excited for it. Look at the dancing games, you can already kind of see for yourself. If you like them, great, you're just like me, but a majority of people chose to either ignore them or were going to wait for a deep sale, which is why you see those go on sale all the time. So really all we can do now is just pray that we get a Western announcement as soon as humanly possible from Atlus West. Reminder guys, please don't try to get your hopes up too much, no matter what people might consider as leaking or whoever's announcing it. Until you hear anything actually from Atlus West, just try and wait for it. You're just going to lead to people either getting more impatient or disappointed in the end. Now, before I wrap up this video, I just want to say, going off of the multi-platform discussion, look at how great these sales are. Imagine what a boon it will be if by some miracle all the stars will align, and when the Western version of Scramble comes out, we can get this game not only on PlayStation and Switch, let's get a proper PC port, let's get a new version on Xbox Series X and maybe even Xbox One. Let's get a native PlayStation 5 version. Like, man, let's show this game running at 120. Sure, it's going to make most other Atlus games look like really whack by comparison, but like, who cares? This is a game that you have done, you have shown that you are willing to still support it over 10 months from now. Like, this game is just riding on such a high wave from its initial release, and I'm just super proud of it. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things I criticize Atlus West for doing, but in terms of it just being a game, I could not be more happy. It's an amazing game, amazing soundtrack, runs really great. It is just such a blast to play, and I can never really get sick of playing it. Even just capturing the footage for this video, I'm constantly reminded how much fun I have playing Scramble. So if you are someone out there who is sick of waiting, or if you're someone out there who has just been playing the Persona 5 Scramble demo, I understand. Waiting sucks. It's really hard. stay strong. Just know that this game is worth it. This game is coming, and by God, this game is somehow now one of the best-selling Persona games of all time, and I'm all here for it. Either way, guys, thank you so much. If you enjoyed the video, let me know what you think in the comments. If you have not subscribed, please, please, please consider subscribing. All of your guys' recent support has really, really helped and been a great motivator for me. Either way, thank you all for watching so much. I will see you all online or in the comments below. Have a good rest of your day.